And now back to the Carl Nelson Show
on Washington, D.C.'s 1450.
1450 WOL Radio.
Thanks for staying with us, folks. Our guest is Baba Lumumba. Baba Lumumba's out of the Umoja House in Washington, D.C. A number to call to speak to Baba Lumumba, 800-450-7876. Before we left, you was talking about some of the totally rich folks in our community. You mentioned Oprah. Is the fact that the money's in the wrong hands of the wrong people who are not conscious? If they're in the conscious community, billionaires in the conscious community, would our outlook would it be different? Would we have the Kwanzaa exhibit in the museum? Then they could just buy a floor and say, "Hey, I want Kwanzaa in here. Here's my check. Put it in there." I guess back again to the premise: is the money that's in the rich ones in our community in the wrong hands?
Well, I mean, that's how they got rich, because they're the wrong hands. In other words, they were rewarded for being outside of it, not being threatening to white people. That's how they got rewarded. That's how you got a Clarence Thomas. That's how you got an Oprah Winfrey. That's how you got, Kanye West. That's how you got these people who were rewarded for their passivity, were rewarded for their lack of involvement, their lack of connection with other black people. They were invested in because they were safe Negroes. They were safe. They were allowed to exist because, so the likelihood of a conscious black person, a person who is believes in black people, dedicated to black people, acquiring that amount of money is very, it's possible, and I won't say that it isn't possible, but it's not likely under these circumstances. Those people understand that they could lose their money at any time. They could, I don't care how you made the money, the white man's still going to be in charge of it. He's still going to control you to some degree, and he's still going to insist that you do things in his interest, not in your own people's interest. He's going to insist on that. And he's a gangster too, so he will kill you if you don't. And you understand that, whether you understand it consciously or unconsciously. You understand that you operate in this, that there's certain, he establishes a framework in which you will operate. And it will be a framework that is in his interest, not in your people's interest. So that's
all right. Hold on right there now. So if Oprah decided to say, I'm going to fund Black Lives Matter, I'm going to take care of the Nation of Islam, I'll make sure I'm going to rebuild some of our inner cities, you're saying that her source of income would be cut off? It would dry up instantly. The minute she said she was going to put the Nation of Islam, for example, every Jew in this country would be on Oprah's case. She would be broke in a week or a month or 2 months or 6 months. She knows what those connections are. Everybody knows where the money comes from. It comes because, she doesn't control that, and we don't control that. So yes, that's just absolutely true. There's no way that you could openly support those things which are, focused on the interests of black people collectively, and still maintain your posture within the white world. That's not going to happen, even amongst white liberal. I don't care whether Jeff Bezos is not going to give you the money. Certainly Donald Trump, but the whole spectrum of white people are going to say no. You must operate within the context of our interests, not your own people's interests. That's the only framework we have. And that's what you have to accept. You have to accept that as a reality. So, Well, let me jump in here because you mentioned Bezos, and since we're talking about millionaires, and you got Bloomberg is running, and you got Trump is running. So what do? We sit them out because if none of them are really going to help us, it's all going to be superficial.
I think that one of the most potent ideas that we have to work with is the idea of community. I think that we can develop our own world at a community level. We can relate to each other. We can develop connections based on an identity and a culture that we know and understand. Because the world needs an alternative to this system. This system is destroying everything. It's not just only destroying us, it's everything. We can't express our allegiance to a system that is in fact destroying everything and think that that's helping us. It's not helping anybody. You must face that. How do you face that? You face that the system is is self-destructing. It's collapsing in front of us. It's taking us all down. So what do we do in this situation? Do we join it, try to get as much as we can while it sinks? Or do we work with each other to create an alternative and slowly build that alternative, hoping that we'll survive and the world will survive by emulating us, not them? Well, you know, I mean, that's a difficult thing to do, and that would require several other programs to talk about. But we have to work in the context of community building. We have to build with each other. We have to build, in fact, an alternative to the very system that we live in at a community level, based on our own traditions and culture. You know, we have to do that. You know, we don't have any choice but to do that, to look in that direction. We have no answers by turning to the system. We can't solve it by voting. We can't solve it by claiming that Black Lives Matter. You know, I mean, we can't solve it by resisting the system. We can't solve it in ways that we have traditionally tried to solve it. We can't solve it by integrating into the system, by being a part of the system. That doesn't offer us a solution, you know. We have to build an alternative to the system. Now, that's difficult.
Yeah, I'll let you continue. Well, I got a tweet question for you. His name is Baba Lumumba. He works out of Umoja House in Washington, D.C., and the number to call to speak to him, 800-450-7876. I mentioned the tweet is coming for you. Eddie says, will you ask your guest, is it possible for any corporation in America to grow as large as Amazon and Facebook without any assistance from the U.S. government?
Well, I mean, I think that there are certain times in history, like when you look at Amazon, when you look at Bezos, when you look at his climb to the richest person in the world was in large part due to the introduction of the internet and how he was able to play that in. But what the internet didn't come, it's just like some people made money off the telephone. Some people made money. He made more money off the internet. Some people made money off the computer. But those computers and the internet, those took thousands of people to develop over many, many years. It wasn't one person who developed the internet. It wasn't one person who developed computers. It was many, many people that went and developed that. So, you know, the fact that a few parlayed that, which is primarily luck, being at the right place at the right time, is not the same as they deserve what they got. You know, it's not the same. It's the luck of the draw. It's where things happen when you're around. You know, if that same person as Jeff Bezos would be just a guy working on a job if he hadn't been at the right place at the right time. You know, that's all he would be. He would just be an average guy working on a job. Maybe he would, be good at his job. Maybe he wouldn't. But the fact is that he became the richest man in the world because he was at the right place at the right time. That's it.
But I think what Eddie's implying here, that he got government help, and which is not government help, that's our help, that's our tax money, that's you and my money that we made, and was doled out some way and so performed to these businesses, which they do. And it seems like a lot of times many of our folks don't get those kind of grants or loans or whatever, because we know what's happening with the black farmers. So I think that's, and Eddie, if I'm incorrect, just tweet me back and let me know if I'm off course with the question. I think that's where he was going with his question, though.
Well, I mean, I think that Jeff Bezos, when we're talking about him in particular, got support from his own people. People supported him for whatever reason they supported him. It wasn't the government per se. He certainly got, those people had inroads into the government. They had lobbyists. He paid for many, many thousands of lobbyists who went to many congressmen, many senators. Each of them got something for what they gave him. Each of them received something for their support. He was able to manipulate the system so you can call that the government, but it's a system that was set up for people when they're in certain positions to be able to manipulate. He was able to manipulate the system. So I don't know whether you call that government or not. I mean, it's certainly lobbyists, for example, a lobbyist government. Well, lobbyists are part of the system, but they're not government officials. The government officials, when a lobbyist goes to you and says, will you support this? I get you X number of votes, or I'll contribute to your campaign, or I'll give you this. So it's a system designed to favor certain individuals based on money, based on So I would make a distinction between the system and the government per se. It's just like Donald Trump. He got the Democratic and Republican parties. Interesting enough, in the Constitution, there's no provision for political parties. There's no Democratic Republican party. The system doesn't even acknowledge existence, but it's the Republican Party that saved him. Something that exists outside the government exists outside of the system. It's a construct that was.
Well, let me throw this in here because we're coming up on a break, and I'd love to get your side on this because Brother Ray Fauntleroy, whom you know, down in Miami, and he mentioned when the Cubans came in, they got all kind of breaks, all kind of loans. Jeff Bezos' dad is Cuban. And so he got government money, taxpayers' money. His dad, they all got all these breaks when they've taken all over Miami. And this is what Brother Ray talked about quite a bit, that, blacks who were living in Liberty City and other areas, inner city areas of Miami, they couldn't get those kind of loans. And as I mentioned, Jeff Bezos' dad is Cuban. And when the Cubans came, they were given that. They wanted to show them how democracy works and that communism is run afoul. And democracy, this is a good democratic country. So here's some loans, and you start all these businesses. So they ended up buying car dealerships, television stations, and all the big companies that you need in that city. So I'm just wondering, because they don't do the same for the Haitians, and this is with the information I'm getting from Brother Ray. I just want to get your thoughts on that.
Well, I think hold
on a sec, because I hear the drummers warming up. We got to take a short break. I'll let you respond on the other side. Folks, you too can join our discussion. Reach out to us at 800